Good. There we go. Right. I'll just spotlight this. So there's me. I've had to put a jumper on. It's cold in Northumberland. And you'll have to excuse my nails. I was going to take my nail varnish off because it's very chipped. So I'm very aware that I'm just like on the internet with chipped nail varnish. So I'll just apologize for that now. I hope you're all okay. Welcome if this is your first call. I'm Claire. I'm an engagement consultant and mentor. Obviously, absolutely love Substack, even with its issues around tax that I've had to sort of delve into this weekend. That wasn't my favorite topic. But I do love creating here, and I want to share that stay creative message because we can come to the platform and we can plug in for what works for us, holistically, we can create in the ways that we want to create, we can create in the cadence that we want to create in, we can charge what we want to charge. And I absolutely love that approach to creativity and a diverse income stream for our business, essentially. So what we're going to do is just share our Substack URL in the chat so that if anyone is new here, you can get a sense of who's in the room live, which obviously you guys feel free to chat in and use the chat if you want to. Everybody's always muted, but you're welcome to ask questions throughout the chat, throughout the call, sorry, and then I'll get to those. And then I always leave 15 minutes at the end for any Substack questions. So if you want to ask anything technical, if you want to ask anything strategic, like that is the 15 minutes to do that. So we usually get time for about 3 questions that everybody can learn from. But today we are doing another part of the going and staying paid focused workshop, and it is like part tutorial, part workshop today. I do want to share my screen and go into Stripe. I know a few of you have said, oh, I'm a bit scared of Stripe. I don't really go in there. I don't know what it's about. And these sessions are just really meant to empower you around going paid and staying paid, and also get us more used to the dance of the fact that there is a thing called subscriber churn. We will lose paying subscribers will come, and we can make our energy front and center and tell people what we've got for sale. So, that might be at the bottom of a post. We were talking last time about boilerplates, but it could also be a special sale. And so knowing our price points and knowing what we want to charge and what our minimum, I guess, in terms of what we feel that we're offering would feel fair for a discount is a really good thing to play around with and get our heads around. And it's topical because Substack announced to Substack bestsellers that we can be part of the pilot program for the Apple app integration. So Hamish had done a post on this a little while ago saying, what would you guys think if Apple took 30% of your income? Obviously, we don't want that, right? Like that would just be, we're giving Substack 10%, we're giving Apple 30%, there's Stripe fees, like there's not going to be much left for the creator. Or you could look at it the other way, that we get to set what the prices are in the app as a different type of pricing structure to what we already set on Substack. And if we are delivering kind of low input, then it's still money through into our business. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at it, but people, they're wedging on that the app experience of upgrading is going to just make more people upgrade, even if it's slightly more expensive. The convenience of that is going to make more people upgrade. So they're looking for us as bestsellers to test this with them and to see what happens. So I've applied to be part of the pilot. So we'll get into that. But usually what happens is they'll test something with bestsellers and then they'll pretty much roll it out, within a month. Mostly it's been like, less than a month. This might take a bit longer. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I wanted you guys to be aware of it and think about it because you can choose. You don't have to turn it on. Okay, so good. So I'll just check. You guys are all just saying hi. That's all good. Brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about price points. Let's talk about price points for where you are now. If you put in the chat, what's your monthly and what's your annual? And if you haven't turned on paid, what are you thinking? Like, what is your gut saying to you? How much a month? How much annually do you want to charge for your Substack? If you don't know yet, just pick something and we'll work with that number. And then I'll see where you guys are at with that. Okay, so Anna's saying 750 and then annual 45. Sanjida's monthly 6 and then 60, 6 and then 60. Blythe hasn't decided. 5 and then 50 for Faye. Amber 22 monthly and 111 per year. Love that. I love that. All the twos and all the ones. Caroline's saying 6 and 60, raised to 7 and 70 in late October, $5. Caitlin says 50 and 50 US dollars for annual, £5 and 50 probably. Charlotte's saying we've not decided. Rachel's saying £3.50 a month and £40. Okay. Haven't got paid turned on yet. Okay, so just to recap, and we did cover this on Friday in Friday's call, which isn't up yet because I need to edit Luna out of it. But we covered about pledges. So you can turn Substack pledges on and you can just pick an amount within that. And then usually that just gives you a little bit of a gauge just to see if anybody is willing to pledge to pay. When you turn on paid, they won't be charged. So you can say that to them, you won't be charged. This is just to give me an indication of if you did want to pay for some of my content, if I changed it to this, if I changed it to that. And you can ask your audience about that if you want to do that. So there's a variety but it's definitely sitting around the sort of £5, $5 a month mark, and then the 50 a year. Thinking about us as consumers of content on Substack, so where we have bought into other Substacks, do you have off the top of the head or top of your head the last time you paid and how much you paid? Does anyone know? I'm trying to think as well what the last one I paid for. I think it might have been Beth Kempton's Soul Circle, and I joined when she was doing our introductory launch on that. I think it might have been 55-ish for the year. I think she's put it up now, but I think it's good to see what you guys like saying 70 to 80 US. Oh, so Anna's saying she's paid. Farah had an offer this weekend. See, I didn't see Farah's offer because I'm already paid. You see, this is the good thing that you can do. Anna and I were chatting about this actually. It's good. It's really good. If you guys don't know, you can go into your subscriber tab and only email your free subscribers. So I could have done that today to try and get more people to the call, and I could have like given them a free class, you know, just said, oh, here's a 7-day free trial, come along to class, just to see if that kind of brought anyone over. And then they would have had access for 7 days. I could have given them longer than that. I could have given them a discount. You know, there's anything that you can do from that subscriber tab. It's really good. Kate saying Sparkle was your latest. Okay, good. So obviously here on Sparkle, I'm running a community, a membership, there's education mixed in. There are lots of different reasons as to why you might set up paid on your Substack. And sometimes that comes like a super intuitive hit. Other times it's like, oh, I'll have to kind of work all of this out. But one of the things with pricing is it needs to feel fair to you. So I want to do a little bit of work around what feels fair. Like maybe it feels fair and good already. So we've got Anna in the call. Anna's a professional journalist and ghostwriter. So Anna will have in her head, okay, like I'm writing this, if I was being paid for this or if I was being commissioned for this would have been a good fee for this piece. And then she'll be able to kind of track back from that and kind of think, okay, well, if I've got 100 subscribers paying this much a month, then that's going to give me enough to write X number of pieces. So it can be easier to think about it that like that if you've got professional writing experience. If you haven't, it is more of a kind of intuitive what would feel good. Like how many people do you want to hold space for? If you're running a community and only one person turns up to your Zooms, then that might not be what you want. You know, you might not want to be sat there doing a one-to-one Zoom. If you're doing more personal writing behind the paywall, that might feel like, okay, well, I'm good to start with just a couple of people paying because this is actually quite vulnerable work that I want to do in the world. And then as I build my confidence, my paid subscribers will increase. So I just want you to write down in your notebook the prices that you either have or the prices that you would choose and what you would be giving in terms of value to those people. So what that would look like. So we'll take a couple of minutes to do that. And then I'll get into some screen sharing so we can do some sums. My least favorite, but I've made a spreadsheet. It's not that bad. Okay, so just to give you my kind of take on this for the two publications that I run with. So Creatively Conscious was my first publication. I went with £7.70. When more people came to the platform, I felt personally that was too much competition to be on the higher side for what I was offering. Outside of Substack, it's a really good deal what I offer there, but inside of Substack, which is where most of my subscribers come from, and this is really important because if you've got loads of subscribers coming from another place, and your Substack's their first point of call, they don't know the Substack ecosystem yet, so it's different. But for me, it was £7.70, and then I took it down to £5.50 as part of an experiment that I want to report back on with you guys. So I've got Amanda Hilton who's doing some audit work of Creatively Conscious, so she can report back to me and to you guys. I'm going to share it with you all what happened when I changed those prices, because it's been a good 3 months now. Partly because it's really tiring running the two publications, and I feel like Creatively Conscious has become like a hybrid of all the things I used to do instead of, you know, me focusing on what I want to do now. So I want to change it up in January. So I've set out my stall for this year and that's fine, but I want to do something different with it in January. So I'll share all of that. And then on Sparkle, because it's a membership, it's £11.95. Now, it could be £20 a month and like £120 a year. Like, these are just prices that I chose that felt really comfortable for me in my trajectory of growth. So I changed those in February this year, and I changed them to slow growth down. So, you know, I talk about joyful, sustainable growth. I wanted to support more people. So I felt I had to charge slightly more than some of my competitors and just hold the right people at the right time. So I know that some people come in, you know, on the monthlies, and a couple of months' time, 3 months' time, they're done and they'll leave and new people will come. So my churn rate can be quite high on the monthlies. That's fine. And that's felt really good for me. And then when I launched Diamond membership, that felt like a really important place to be able to say, but here in Diamond, these are the things that we can do together for a full year. So utilizing that founding member tier, which we'll also cover off in the call today, felt like something that I could do that felt good for me, that felt like it would have a limited number of people come in. And it also shot me up to spot 14 on the leaderboard as well, because income is the main marker of where you end up on those leaderboards. It's not only income, but it's the main marker. So that was a really good thing to do. So that all feels good. There will be a price increase next year because that's what I do, but the people that joined at those prices will always have those price points. So that's something that Substack do, where, you know, those people that join, unless they leave and then join again, they'll stay at that original price point that you set. So with Creatively Conscious, they've got access to the archive, they've got 4 live calls a year, they've got personal writing, they've got all that stuff. For the most part, people don't spend that much time in archives. You know, you get the odd one, but mostly people are just there for what's in front of them. So an archive can be a really valuable thing to share with people if you're really passionate about it. Like mine's got, you know, live calls and workshops and stuff in it, so people do access it. But you've got to be really kind of sure of that's valuable to them. You know, it's not like giving them more work to do. So if you've got like an archive of like really popular pieces, that would be a good thing to talk about. If you've got an archive where it's got a workshop or something that someone might want to access, that's a really good thing to hone in on. And then on Sparkle, obviously the value, the way that I see it and the way that you guys reflect to me, is up-to-date knowledge, the community, the live calls, and then quick info. Sometimes people just want to know how to do something and they want to know it like there and then. So being able to offer the Monday Ask Me Anythings and the A to Z that you guys can find stuff in has been a really good thing to do. So yeah, super comfortable with that and the way it is at the minute. How did you guys get on? Like, as you were kind of working out what you feel is the value for the consumer, for the buyer, and then how that feels for you in terms of being paid properly. So Sanjita said, and I'll just read this out, for me, there's a discrepancy between what I would get paid professionally as a novelist and journalist and what I get paid on Substack. I'm still building my Substack, so it feels very much like a lost leader at the moment. Yeah, and so because Substack tell us to expect anywhere between 3 and 5% as an average for being, you know, converting from free to paid, we can work that out. So, you know, if you're working towards 1,000 subscribers and thinking, right, when I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll turn paid on. And if you know, okay, maybe about 3% of those will pay, those are the only statistics we've got to work with. But you can quite quickly work out, okay, well, if I'm putting one thing paywalled, is that enough money? Do I feel valued in that way? Or do I need to like put a couple of things? Do I need to increase my subs? How do I want to do it? So yeah. So Caroline says they're getting a great deal and I need to figure out how to earn more for what I offer. Same on Loss Leader. Yeah. Amber saying, going to use what I've written as part of a post update on how the space I'm creating on Healing Through Writing is going. Yeah, that would be really good, Amber. I think because you've gone in at the like higher price point, not that it's high for what you do, because I know what you do is transformational and amazing. I think it would be good for people to see behind the scenes of how that's been, because your right people have found you and I know sit in circle with you on a Monday. So that would be really good to hear about. So Blythe says, like to shop around and see what other people charge in my area. I could also increase later and offer additional workshops from my website. Yeah, so when we've got a bigger ecosystem that we can plug in, we can find ways to kind of offer those on coupons and that sort of thing. So Rachel says, I'm building a new career with Substack, a major part of it. Certainly at the moment, due to chronic health, haven't got any paid subs at the moment. It's all very hard to work out what to offer is. Claire says, any advice on how many free subs to reach before turning on paid? So it really depends. So I turned on paid from the off because I just was open to receiving money for the work that I do in the world. And that was like a mindset place that I was in at the time, April 2022. And then other people have said, oh, well, you know, as you're finding your voice, maybe find your voice first. Journalists will come and be like, well, we'll turn that on straight from the off because, you know, we've been working in industries where we felt underpaid. So I definitely felt underpaid in my industry. Lots of journalists were feeling that as well. So it's like a gut thing, I think. Like, does it feel good, or do you want to nurture your audience for a while and see what it is that you want to create here? You know, there's path A and path B. If you turn on paid now, there'll be, you know, 1, 2, 3, and it'll go up like that. If you wait, then you'll have more of an influx, but then you've got to keep that sort of sustained. And there is that kind of nerve-wracking thing of going, well, I've written this brilliant piece. If I paywall it, then not everybody in my audience is going to get to read it. So there's a bit of a dance there, I would say, Claire, but it'll be, you know, what's right for you. Or so Jane's just asking about the difference between creatively conscious and sparkle. Yeah, I'll get to that, Jane, no problem. So Kate's saying, interesting that there's a difference in perspective outside Substack to inside. Just brought my membership over to Substack and reduced the price drastically. Good for them and for me. It feels less pressured, although I still want to provide value for my members. I'm working it all out at the moment. I think because on Substack as well, lots of us are paying for multiple Substacks, which is new. You know, maybe we might have had Netflix and or Disney Plus, just speaking from sort of my example here. Pandemic times, I think I had both. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not paying for both every month. I don't need that. Maybe I'll have Disney for a while. And so we would switch out. And we got used to doing that in our personal lives. And then on Substack, you know, there's lots of things that tip us over the paywall. We might just really want to read a piece. We might want to join a community like I did with Beth's Soul Circle that she launched. I had said at that point, I'm not paying for any more Substacks. I can't pay for any more. Like I've supported so many people. And then Beth launched it and I was like, oh, here's my card details. Like, what are you going to do? It's just hard, isn't it? I am investing in my writing craft and it feels like self-development for me is a no-brainer. So that's why I end up paying, I think. So Catherine says, I'm feeling like I'm doing a lot of work for not much money. Blind faith that it'll be worth it. Yeah. So I don't know whether any of you guys saw my friend and colleague Susie Walker's interview I did with her in our local bookshop as part of the summit. And I was asking Susie, like, what a difference had Substack made to our work and our world. So when Susie and I first met in our local town of Alnwick, I told her to get on Substack. And I think it took her like a good few months until she came to me. She was like, okay, I feel ready. And then she's a Substack bestseller now. You know, she'll say, I think she says in the video, like, there's definitely a few £100s per month coming in. And she feels like she's been able to like alter what she pitches for and offers in terms of our journalistic services because she's built a Substack. So every time I saw her, she was so delighted. She was like, it's building, it's going up. So the trajectory was always going up and up and up. So for Susie, she just kept her eye on that, you know, the eye on the prize. It's like, I'm giving it a year, I'll give it 18 months, you know, and being in that long game space, because I think month by month, it can get a bit frustrating. It can feel a bit of a dance. And then when we get savvy about the sales techniques that we can use, and obviously I'm here for you guys on that, you know, whether that's coupons, whether that's flash sales, whether that's price hikes, however we do that, and really clear about what we offer, what the value is, then you'll find that people, you know, it's sales. So people buy things. So it's all good. But being realistic about that 3 to 5%, with 10% being high, I've also seen 14%, you know, so it's all possible. Oh, Anna's put an article in chat. Thanks, Anna. Okay. Right, I'll get to some of these in a bit, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share this spreadsheet so you guys can see. So you've all got access to this spreadsheet, and I will share the link in the chat with you as well. But when we're trying to work out what we're actually shooting for, this can be super helpful. So I just built it so that you can put in an annual fee and then the number of subs, and then, you know, your annual total is going to calculate. And then obviously in the red, these are all the fees that we currently pay. And then what your take home is. So when we go into Stripe, obviously you'll see some of this reflected in my Stripe, but this can be really helpful because say if you said, okay, it's 42 a year, doesn't matter that someone else is charging 40, right? You're going to work it out on 42. You can put what you want. Mine could be £11.50. I might just sneak it up to £11.50. Like you can do anything you want. So you don't have to be too stuck on like, oh, well, this person over here charges £5. What if you charge £5.50? Like what or $5.50? What's that going to do? So you can play around and see what's going to make you comfortable. And remember, this is based on what you want to offer of value in the world. So are you putting an ebook behind the paywall? Are you putting some classes behind the paywall? Are you putting your writing behind the paywall? That's all going to be personal to you and what you want. But what we're looking at is, for most people, building an income stream that keeps going up. So although, yes, there'll be subscriber churn, because we are still in at the ground floor in Substack terms, it is going to be going up because more and more people come into our network, more free subscribers come, and then they convert to paid. Some of them will anyway. So you can have a look at this. So let me put it in the chat and you guys can have a little play around with this and see if that helps. Anyone with the link? Okay, that should work. And it might just help you. And if you have gone paid and you've been paid for a little while and it's stuck, maybe it feels okay, or maybe you're like, oh, maybe it's time I did a special offer and just try to get more people in to kind of up that income. See what you think. I'll give you a few minutes on that just to play around and see. And if you've got more questions, I'm going to just answer some of them as you're doing that. Oh, sorry, someone's saying it's view only. Oh, thanks, Catherine. Oh, great, thank you. Yeah, so I think is it like the top left, you like make a copy and then that's just yours. You just save it and you can play around with it that way. I think that's what to do. And then you've got it, you know, I have linked to it in one of the posts, but it is just a good thing if you're second guessing yourself. And those 50p's, they do make a big difference, guys, honestly. So play around with that. Like you don't have to follow what everybody else does. Okay, so feel free to just keep playing around. We're not in the sort of space where you have to kind of tune back in and listen, but I am going to talk about these IAP because for those of you that aren't bestsellers, you won't have seen this from Substack. So as soon as you become a Substack bestseller, you get access to be able to apply to a special bestsellers publication. You can access the product lab, you can access early releases. So basically, this is what they're saying. So again, at first you might be like, oh, well, that's quite a lot. So your take home ranges from 60 to 75%. But given that I'm very passionate about multiple income streams, and if you think about so my book is for sale in a local bookshop and they take 30%. That's great for me. That's amazing. Like they sell the book, I get 60%, 70%, sorry. Told you my maths isn't great. So when I first read this, I was like, oh God, like I feel like I want to do this for you guys, but I was like, these are some big fees. Like, how am I going to look at all of this? There's a couple of things that I've noticed. So one of the things is there's no Stripe fees. So in that spreadsheet that you've just opened, obviously we've got some Stripe fees like worked out in there. Substack take the 10% like they always do anyway. And then Apple's is between the 15% and the 30%. Now, I'm not really sure why. I need to look into that a little bit further because there's quite a big difference between the 15 and the 30, but that is there. And then it's saying that after this 1 million, which, it would be nice, but I'm kind of ignoring that. But then it says Apple's take rate decreases to 15% for subscriptions over 1 year old. So say once someone has joined your publication and decides to subscribe for a second year, then that's going to go down to them taking 15%. Obviously, Substack will still take that 10% off. So they can't support the founding member tier on this. They're just going to do the monthly and the annual. And then we can't, this is for us kind of volunteering our prices. They can't change the prices for us. So I've got to decide when I apply to this what the price is going to be. And I'm definitely going to do it. But obviously, I'm going to increase the prices. My worry is if I increase the prices to make it worth my while so that I feel like it's fair and everyone's paying the same, I do feel I'll want to say, or you can just go on your laptop and get it for cheaper. I just feel like I'll want to say that. So it's slightly confusing for me because I don't want to take the hit on all of those fees from Apple because I want to maintain like what I can as a creator. Also, if you're at the lower end of the spectrum, say you charge £3.50 a month, maybe, or 35 for the year, there's really not going to be very much left in terms of take home for you. So I will, once we know more about this, I will make a spreadsheet so that you guys can decide this as well. But this is quite a big variable, this 15 to 30%. So I wanted you to know about it. I wanted you to know that I'm going to do it and I'll report back. But essentially, the expectation is as it's easier on a phone, in the app, people are just going to press yes, read. So I think this is going to benefit the people that do the paywalling. And I've always said, like, I tend not to do paywalling, but I think the people that write a really compelling piece and then you've got to read the rest, if it's like £4, £5 to read the piece, you might want to do that. And then for the rest of us that are doing things in a slightly different way, we're going to have to be kind of being really clear with our customer, with our subscriber, and like working all of that out with them and helping them. Have you guys got any questions about that? Okay, so Sarah's saying, I think it's a bit icky that they're not absorbing the fee, or partly at least. The million is for all publications taking part, not just a single account from what I'm reading here. Oh yeah, I didn't really clock that, to be honest. I just saw £1 million and thought, well, I don't earn that. Okay, maybe it's that. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It is interesting. I think, Substack's 10% is definitely for them to build and grow as a company, right? Like they're reinvesting. We've seen them reinvesting, they're doing a real good job. It's great. They've got us, they've got our back, and they're doing things like this to try and ultimately help our bottom line. So then it's up to us to get savvy about what would feel good. We don't have to do this. We don't have to turn it on. So I think it's just about us knowing that it's going to exist. I know that I've had people say, oh, I was going to upgrade, but I missed the flash sale because you can't upgrade through the app, not to me because I don't tend to do flash sales, but to other people. So I know there are people that would have just pressed yes, please, and didn't because it was like a whole other thing. Like it was on a weekend and they didn't want to open their laptop or whatever. So we can see, can't we? No, Rachel, it's part of the Substack app. So it's to do with Apple integration. So at the minute, the reason that you can't upgrade through the Substack app is because it's a partnership with Apple. So there's no mention of Android. I don't even know. But with Apple, what Substack are trying to do is negotiate how Apple will support Substack to take payments, and then Apple get a fee as part of that. So that's what it is. I hope that helps. Okay, let's have a look at Stripe. It's all fine. It's all good. This is my main message of the month. It's super empowering to wrap your head around it, but also sometimes it might just feel a bit disappointing. You might just think, oh, okay, like that's what it is. So the work between the spreadsheet and then coming onto here, you might just be like, oh, that's not as much as I thought, or I feel like I've done so much work. So there really is that balance of you working out what is working for your publication. You know, do you need to post as much? Do you need to pull back on like the articles and show up on in notes more and just have that as a kind of light touch interaction, but do that, 5 days a week. So working out what the bottom line is. If you guys want to log into your Stripe, then you can, but I'm just going to point a couple of things out here, and I need to be careful not to share anybody's details. But the payments that are succeeded, it's telling me there. So that's in purple. So this would just be when you log in, just to say if you have got a couple of Stripe projects, like, so I've got Sparkle, I've got my website, I've got this is Substack, Creatively Conscious Substack, then you'll be able to toggle there, but I'll not do that because I might upset it. So payments is here. So that's succeeded. And then refunded, that's if someone's ended up on Creatively Conscious and meant to join Sparkle. And then the failed payments is there. So if you click into failed payments, what happens is Substack will retry the payment details that the person has inputted 3 times. So Substack and Stripe have got that partnership. And if they can't collect the payment after 3 times, they're then going to take the person out of your paid Substack. So they'll disallow access to your paid Substack. So that's all handled. And that's partly what we pay for, right? Because if we had to be like writing to people saying, oh, your payments failed, can I change your card? All that, like, it's a thing. So that's what that is there. But that can equal quite a lot. And so it's up to you if you wanted to reach out, like you've got the email addresses, so you could click into failed there, see what was going on, check like, is everything okay? Like I can offer you a 30-day trial of the publication. Like sometimes, and I've had it a lot in my business. The last course I had 5 failed payments and I wrote to them all and they were like, oh, I lost my card. And now I've up, it was literally that. Like people in the world are all losing their cards and like things are happening all the time. Cards are being stopped, all that sort of stuff. So quite often it could be just a logical explanation and then they'll go back through again. So that's obviously for you there. And then it's going to tell you your gross volume and then how much up it is. And remember, this is what we're concentrating on. So bearing in mind that Creatively Conscious isn't my main publication and I use it as kind of an experimental publication so that I can report to you guys in Sparkle and tell you what's happening. So it's still saying it's up 80% from the previous period and it's going over about a year there. So like the October to September. And then it's saying the net volume from sales. So that's obviously what's coming into my bank account from having Substack switched on for paid. So say if you're like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm doing, I don't know whether to do it, this is going to be a big fat 0, but the minute you start is the minute that you're going to be growing. So even if it's only 1, 2, 3 people, there's still going to be a little bit of income coming in. You still get that lovely feeling of like, I'm being in service, I'm supporting people. The question comes when you're in that maybe lower set of numbers, like maybe it's like under 10, say, and you're like, oh, I'd quite like it to be more. And then how you manage all of that, how you manage that for yourself, how you manage what the vibe is, what the community is, and how you grow with that. But knowing that this is what's happened for me, and it's not the main publication that I focus on, it's one that I've built up over time that I find easy to sit and write for, easy to share like a business class or behind the scenes of my business post. I love to do that work. I just don't have a ton of capacity for it because I do so much on Sparkle. So I just wanted to show you that and show you that you don't need to be frightened of it. It just can be really helpful for you to see where you've been and where you're going. Has anyone got any questions about their Stripe dashboard while I'm in here? You can unmute or you can type it out in the chat. Or Rachel's saying she's all Android. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Android yet. Yeah, I think that's good, Julie. That's right. So Julie's saying, just for those of you on the replay, I think it's cheaper to subscribe online. I think you'd say it's cheaper to subscribe online on the desktop and explain the differences due to Apple fees. Yeah, just to be really transparent about it. Yeah, I think so too. Um, yes, we are covering founding memberships next. We're going there. We're going there next. Okay. Anna, did you want to unmute? Did you say yes, please to that? Because you can. I'm not sure what you were saying yes, please to.
Hi, sorry, I was
Hi, love.
sorry, I was just eating my lunch and I didn't want you all to have to witness that. Um,
Oh, I see. Well, you're
sorry.
welcome. I've got some gazpacho soup, guys, because we have a bit of lunch chat on a Friday, you see. Well, this is today's lunch, gazpacho soup I'm having. I know that sounds random, but it's so nice. Carry on.
Yeah, I just had a little question about the Stripe having multiple publications because I used to have my paid switched on my other account, which is the book room. And then when I relaunched White Ink last December, I had to like unattach my my Stripe account from the book room because it said you can only have one account attached to Stripe. So I was wondering how you had the two, because the book room. I mean, You magazine, the Mail on Sundays magazine, plugged that the other day for some
Mm,
strange reason, and so I kind of had loads more subscribers come to it, and I'd still like to do things like that over on there that I can't do on White Ink, or I don't want to bother people on White Ink by
mhm.
doing too much content. So yeah, I don't know how to do both.
So you have to set up a new project in Stripe. So this is what I learned when I was doing that, when I was first setting up Sparkle, because I encountered that as well. And I was like, oh no, my idea is not going to work. But you set up a new project. So, and then Stripe somehow just talk to Substack and it all works, she says. But I mean, like I said, I thought, oh no, like it can't work, but it definitely does. So here on this side here, when I toggle between, so this is another one that I've got set up, and I set this up as a project within my Stripe. So it's only one Stripe, me. So you as a person, you're only allowed one Stripe because you're only one person, like obviously bringing income in for tax purposes and stuff. But somehow when I set up Culture Northumberland, I was able to just tell it, okay, this is a new project. And so this is what it does. So it's exactly the same as what I just showed you, but it's a whole new project. And so, sorry, it's being slow. It should just be that, Anna. So I wonder whether you just need to do it in Stripe first. And I'm trying to remember.
Mm,
Yeah, create new account, you see. I think I
okay.
just did that. I
Okay, I'll
think
have a look.
I'm pretty
I mean,
sure I just
I'm
did
not
that.
that kind of savvy with these things, so probably I missed something.
Well, yeah, I think from Substack's end, it'll stop you. But I think if you create a new account, I'm pretty sure that's what I did. Create a new account because someone told me you need a new project for it to speak to. And then so I did that and then called it, just call it the book room, I think you said, didn't you? And then
Yeah.
try again and try and switch it through. And when you go in, it automatically talks to Stripe. So it might automatically talk to it. And then you just toggle down and say it's this one. So
Okay,
yeah,
I'll give it
try
a go.
that. Yeah,
Thank you.
worth it, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, even if you had, donation based only, that could be really good to do. And
Yeah.
just see. So it's like, you're not stressing about creating a load more extra content, but it was like donation based for people to access stuff or something.
Mhm.
Okay. So Julie's saying Stripe fees are quite hefty. I calculate the difference between gross and net at just over 14%. Yeah, it should be in the spreadsheet, but yeah, it sounds a lot, but yeah, maybe it is that. Oh, okay, Joy's jumping in here. Oh, right, yeah, of course, that extra bit, right. So this is right, yeah. Joy's saying it'll depend on the amount of the payment for Stripe. Their fee is usually 2.9% of the payment plus $30, 30 cents per transaction. So obviously the 30 cents then becomes quite a high percentage of what if you've got a low price point. Yeah, that's right. Thanks for that, Joy. I really appreciate that. Kate, yes, you will be able to do that for sure. You can just set up, I had to set up a new project in Stripe for a funder who wanted to pay me through Stripe. So you can definitely set up multiple projects for sure. And then because Substack connect automatically to your Stripe account, then there must be a step when you turn it on paid that it asks you which one, and it won't let you put it in the same one. But if you choose the other one, it should be fine. Claire, yes, feel free. Do you want to unmute? Just all finding the mute button.
There we go.
Yay!
Looks different. It looks different. So I'm just trying to get my head around different tiers and groups of people with different payment options. I was thinking, how do I explain this really clearly? But I want to create a paid offering, like a membership stroke community type thing, which will be mostly virtual and online and written content and stuff. But I also would really like to create an in-person accountability thing in my local area. And I was wondering about how to get people to pay for that in an easy way. I'm wondering whether I could do it through Substack and just create a different sort of membership tier for those people, because they may not want to pay also for the other content that I'm doing online. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But people online wouldn't be able to attend in person.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, there's a couple of options. You can set up a Stripe link for people to pay you. So if you've got Stripe set up, you would do a new project and you would just call it Claire's Meetups or something. And you would just set up a link for people to purchase like an amount. And then you would obviously deal with the customer service email of like what you wanted to send them off the back of that. On Substack, if you weren't using the founding member tier for anything else, you could say, you know, paid goodies plus in-person meetups, and then you could make that, but it's only annual, so it would be like the annual fee that they would be paying up front, and they have to pay up front. It's not a payment plan thing. So say like, okay, like £200 a month, it gets you all the paid resources and 4 meetups a year or something. You could do it like that if you wanted. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I could either do it directly just through Stripe,
Just to get a payment link,
or
yeah. And the same with like PayPal, you know, you can create a PayPal link that says like this is, you know, you do a little checkout and say this is how much to pay me if you want to come to the meetups.
Substack feels nice, because then I was thinking actually they could get like a newsletter and other bits and pieces that gives me the connection to them through that space rather than
Yeah.
just purely transactional.
Yeah, and I think
Thank you.
one of the things that's really nice that I like with the community element on Substack is that my founding members, they can have their own chat space, right? So you can have it within chat, but also I could set up a post just for them. So if yours was like the meetup, then like who's coming to the meetup, and it just goes to them. So, you know, it does segment it in that way. So obviously it's not what Substack was necessarily invented for, but it works. It can work as a workaround. It's the stay creative thing, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Yeah, so Sarah's saying, I feel like those low amounts really feel disappointing after Stripe fees. If you paid $5, you take home just under $4. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and definitely it's been a mindset issue for me in terms of being paid. So I remember when I first started looking at all of this in 2020 and started thinking about what I would offer for people to buy online and how that would all work. And I said to a colleague who was doing really well, shall I do PayPal or Stripe? Because everyone says Stripe's better because the fees are lower. And she was just like, well, both of them enable you to get paid, Claire. So like you're just looking at it wrong. And I was like, it's easy for you to say, you know, because I had nothing, like I had no benchmark. I didn't know who was going to buy stuff. And so there is this kind of way now that I see things where it's like Stripe is like one of my assistants. Thanks so much, Stripe. Oh, you've hassled those people 3 times until they've paid. That's brilliant. You've done all of those lovely graphs for me. You've put it in my bank account for me. I can't tell you how annoying it is I find to do invoices. And then my accountant says, you're meant to be doing them in Xero. I'm like, oh, I hate it. So now, you know, all of that is just automated. So to me, it just feels like, thank goodness somebody looks after that for me. But it's like the bookshop analogy again. I'd happily give Helen 30% of the bookshop. To be honest, if she asked for 40, I probably would, because I just think I don't have to do anything. Like she's got my book there, she's selling it, people are happy, they'll come and they'll message me if they've bought it, that sort of thing. So these fees, although yes, it ends up where these, businesses will, have billionaire shareholders and everything else, they're enabling us to get paid. We're paying for a service essentially. So I feel like in terms of a mindset shift and getting good with the numbers, it's really helpful, because then you know what you'll accept for your work. Like what you get to take home needs to feel good, it just needs to feel like it aligns with what you value in yourself. And then again, we could have the volume discussion all day, but if someone turns on paid and, they get to 100 paid subscribers straight away, that's a healthy income stream, right? Like whether they've discounted that or not, if we're like trudging up the hill with like 1 or 2 every couple of months, that's going to feel different. So knowing, do you have a business already, or is this newsletter subscription business like something that you want to build? Because Substack's a long game unless you're going to bring in, a high profile from somewhere else or a big mailing list from somewhere else. So just knowing, but also knowing that the art of sales is a thing, like being able to put something in front of someone and have them buy it, like it works. You tell the people what it is that you've got to offer, it's of value to them, they press buy. Like that's what works. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And James says we could just charge more from the start and not feel peeved. I know. This is it. And this is why it's the self-worth question as well. So Sarah's saying payment links are great. Do you set up the invoice bit though for extra security payment wise in case of disputes? So when I did it, I just did it so people could buy my journal, and it was a very small amount of people, and it was like a total workaround. So I didn't look into it for bigger volumes. But yeah, it would definitely worth looking into for sure. Usually if there's something like that, I'll just have a good old Google of it and then try YouTube as well, because sometimes people have done it and they've got stuff to share about that.
Can I
yeah,
just
so
jump in on that? Yeah,
of course,
I just wanted to say that it was just something that I set up because I didn't know you had to set it up, because if you just have it like the normal way, it just sends out like a little like a receipt.
Okay.
And you can toggle on invoices, and invoices cost like another, I don't know, 0.5% or something.
Okay.
And it gives you more security. So that's what I just wanted to say.
Oh,
that
okay,
it
cool.
helps.
Another way
but
around
it's just
it.
like a little switch that you have to do, because I had an issue with like a payment, and I had to find the receipt or at least the invoice, and I realized that I didn't have it on. So it wasn't producing an invoice for me either. It was just sending out a little receipt to the person who was paying. So it wasn't like, yeah, I didn't have all the information that I needed. So
okay, yeah, no, that's good to know, isn't it? Different ways with Stripe for sure. They have got a YouTube channel if you want to subscribe to their YouTube and see what tutorials and stuff they've got there. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, right. I want to make sure we leave time for questions. So founding member tier then, who has seen people using the founding member tier? Have you used it? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about it in a different way? Like, what do we feel is possible with this founding member tier? For some people, it feels like too big a jump to wrap their head around what they would use it for. But as I've explained in the calls before and again today, you get to have a private space with your founding members, and you can call them whatever you want. So obviously it's Sparkle, it's Diamond members. They've got their own chat space. They've got their own kind of portal of resources. We're going to have a meetup, it's just a whole different additional thing. So like top tier membership, like the most membership that I offer in terms of how I can plug into those people. I just wondered like where you guys were at with that, given that we can charge more. That's the idea of it. Substack invented it so that people might just pay more. They might just become founding members, and then people got confused about what that was. But have you had thoughts about it in terms of something that you could maybe use as an upsell to give people access to something, or to hold them in a different way for a year? It has to be for a year. Is there anything that we can think through creatively as a team, while we're all here? Is there something that we can talk about today that would mean that you just went and switched that on? That's kind of my question and my provocation to you all, I guess, because we want to get paid. So Rachel's saying it's frustrating that it's yearly. Yeah, different levels like Patreon. Yeah, people do say that. Anna, founding member by accident is so annoying. Yeah, the fees thing is annoying. So Anna's saying my founding member tier means people get a 55-minute one-to-one with me to discuss their work in progress. Anna, do you have a page anywhere that says this is the type of thing that we can talk about in the session? These are some testimonials from people that have booked the one-to-one. These are some things that they've gone on to do. Anything like that that would we could link people through to remind them that that's something that they can book with you at any time.
It will not surprise you to know I do not have that
Oh, well, there
page.
we go. I can give you that as a little job to do, Anna. Because surprise, surprise, people just love that. So and this is one of the things I wanted to say, I don't know whether the page is live still, but if it is, I'll put it in the replay. When I did what is called a value stack, so I value stacked everything out as part of Diamond membership, basically the cost was 10% of what I was saying the value was. And those things were all for sale separately. So I wasn't just plucking it from thin air. I was saying, look, you get this course, the course is £200. You get an audit, the audit is like 190 or whatever it was at the time. So I added all of that up and said, or you can buy Diamond membership and it's £250. So people could clearly see the value. And then I had some like nice comments and stuff from other people that had already been part of Diamond, and that was enough. So I put that out. People were like, oh yes, please, I'll have that, thanks Claire. And then they came on over. So we just need to build out what the value is. If there's any sort of transformation or any like nice comments and things like that, we need to make it clear if they don't understand Substack what they're doing. So if you go onto the chatbot will give you the line that says what happens when someone upgrades from paid to founding or whatever you call it. So like Anna's Gang or something, let's just say, for example. So when you upgrade to Anna's Gang from being a paid subscriber of White Ink, Substack will pro rata calculate the difference that they need to charge the person. So if they've only just joined on paid and there's like £100 difference or something, then obviously that's what they'll pay. But if they've been paid for a little while, then it's going to like work that out for them. So I just copy and paste that from chatbot because it's not the best language, and I think it's just like, this is it. And then you'll probably find some better language than chatbot to use, but that's how that works. So your existing paid subscribers would be the best people to start that with, and to say, did you know I've got this 45-minute session that you can book with me? I've got some availability before Christmas. You know, maybe you can set up some sort of easy way for them to book in with you or whatever else. And that's going to increase your income because it's like a hot ticket. You know, it's like, oh yeah, actually, I do want Anna's expertise. Also, off the back of the workshop that I think you've already taught it, or you're going to teach it. Again, there might be people that just want more of your time, you know. So those two places would be really good places to say, I've got this other thing, and that's going to obviously increase that kind of where we're looking at that plus percentage on the Stripe. That's going to increase that. And essentially that's what we're aiming to do to make this sustainable. Otherwise it's always like chasing the monthlies. We lose a monthly, we want another one to come in, you know? So we've got to bolster the income and the value. Well, that's what I feel we have to do. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, that sounds really good. I just need to organize myself, really.
Yeah, and so, you know, we'll just write it on a little post-it note, stick it there. You know, I know you're a sleep-deprived puppy mum at the minute, so it'll happen, you know, but once we kind of set that intention, like, yes, we're going to make that happen, and you can make it work for you. Like if you feel like you don't really want to take on any calls at the minute, say I'm opening in November, I've only got 5 slots. I bet you get 5 people buying it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I think I also agree with Rachel about that it's just once yearly, because say somebody had a one-to-one and then they wanted a follow-up or something, they can't really do that, I suppose, unless they contact you and
Yeah.
you arrange some kind of PayPal or Stripe payment or
Yeah. It's
either.
frustrating because Substack had a book a meeting button in
Oh yes, they
pilot.
did. Yeah.
And only some people got it, and then other people wanted it and they were like, oh no, we're not rolling it out. So it's frustrating, but what you could do is work out whether it would be worth you paying for Calendly to, you know, so say Calendly was going to cost one of the fees or something, but you were going to sell it like 15 times over the year. It might be better that you just pay for Calendly, and then you're going to keep all of that money pretty much through Calendly rather than giving Substack the 10%. So as we're thinking all of this through, it might be that, yeah, it's not quite the right fit because of what we're offering or how it's going to be. It might be that Yeah, it's kind of the multiple times in a year thing that doesn't work, because obviously they can have access to the archive. It could be maybe then that you think about that anyway as part of your business model, but then if you are doing more of the classes, you say you only get the classes if you buy founding membership, and you make that like, you know, affordable. So it's not the same as what a one-to-one would be. It's more like slightly more than paid, but more like mid-ticket offer, and then they get the archive of workshops, but only at that tier. So you could call it like the library or something, or workshop archive or something, and then they're buying that. But it depends if that feels like a good thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my workshops are half price to my paid members.
Oh, so you sell them off platform anyway?
Yeah. So I use iZettle and I send them
Okay.
a payment link.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they're £65, but if you're
Mhm.
not a member, they're 130.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
for a
Yeah.
2-hour workshop. But I'd like to do more. I mean, every month I do a workshop, like a themed workshop, a writing workshop, but I'd like to do more intense ones. So that one is the how to pitch to newspapers and magazines. But then I would like to do other things that are more themed, where we have more time and smaller. I do small classes so that we can practice and I can give feedback and stuff in class. So that's the thing about the extra charge for the workshop that might not work if it was part of a founding. But
True.
the passive recording, that probably would work, right? So
I think if, you know, if I was coming to Substack fresh and new, and I came across your account and you had like 6 workshops ready for me to just delve into, I'd be like, this is amazing. You know, like, just because, and again, thinking about those people that are brand new to the platform, like sometimes it's like, oh my, this woman really knows what she's talking about in all of these different areas. That means that I pay this amount, but then I get like 6 hours or whatever it is of amazing tutorials from someone with like a really great profile, you know? So thinking about that and thinking about people kind of filtering in. And then, yeah, I mean, I think getting to know our paid subscribers is the best way to understand how to make this all sustainable. You know, when I do polls or when I do a survey, I learn so much about you guys. Every time I come to a call, I learn more about you guys. So it's just never ending. And I think when we just have a space where it's writing and there's a little bit of comment exchange, it's a whole different thing. So if we're thinking about any sort of community element or classes, it's really getting to know what people need, want to pay for, have time for, like all of that stuff as well. Caroline says she uses Acuity. Yeah, Lauren uses that, Lauren Barber, actually. That's really good. And so it's linked with Squarespace. Yeah, should have a separate business session, shouldn't we? Google Calendar to schedule. Calendar is free for one type of appointment. Thanks for that, Julie, because I pay now, so I didn't know that. I've missed that detail. Claire, where do you suggest we put the text that explains what you get for founding member on a separate page, or do it as a post and say, I've just designed up my founding member tier, this is what I've called it, this is what you get, and then send it out to everybody and put the button in for them to upgrade if you've set it up in settings as well. So Caitlin saying, "Oh, for my founders, a free one-to-one session and a handwritten letter in the mail. I've had one sign up, but I think he really wanted to support me. That's nice." Yeah, I do hear about that a lot. People will just be like, yeah, that's good. Faye says 2 founding members, which means they get a one-to-one with me, but neither of them. I hear this a lot. I hear this a lot. It's wild because I spoke to my coach about this when I first started offering online courses, because I was like, there must be something wrong with my course because people are buying it and then they're not going, like, literally they might do like one thing and then stop. And she was like, oh no, this is what people do. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, I've never ever done that, right? So I'm just a different type of person in the online world. I'm like, I buy the thing and I'm like watching the thing and making notes on the thing and doing all things. So what I came to understand about people as buyers is we're all different types of people. So sometimes we'll just be quite, you know, impulsive and expressive, and we want to support someone or we want to buy something and we'll think we'll get round to that. So I have people that join, you know, in the membership, and then I'll hear from them. They'll be like, oh, I've been in your membership since like January and I'm just getting round to like asking this. I've not really looked at anything. Where do I find X? And I'll be like, but they've been here for 8 months, you know, and it's like, that's just when they're getting around to doing things. So that is definitely a thing that goes on. Everybody is different to us. That's what we've got to remember. Okay, shall we do some questions about Substack more generally. I know some people are nipping off for the school run and stuff like that. So with the series that I've done, the 3 paid workshops, it's so much, guys. Like, there's so much for you to work out in terms of what feels good for your ecosystem, what feels good for business, what's going to work money-wise. And remember, you know, you can change things up, you can experiment, you know, try something for at least 3 months before you think, oh no, it's not working, because people need to see it multiple times. They're reckoning it's about 22 times now. It used to be 7 exposures before we understood what a thing was to buy it. Now it's supposed to be more like 22, which is wild, but that's just attention spans. So, you know, there's plenty of spaces to chat about this. Obviously, use the subscriber chat, use any of the posts that I put out. If you're stuck and you feel nervous about trying something or doing something, then just come and find us and have a chat about it all. Yes, so questions. Anybody want to ask anything more generic about Substack, their Substack? Anyone stuck on anything? Joy's asking something. Okay, Joy, yes. So Joy's saying, I'm interested to know if there's a simple way to connect a paid membership on Substack to a membership platform on WordPress. So if someone subscribes, they get access to member-only content on my website without me having to take a manual step, for example, access to a course. So you just put that in the welcome email. So whatever you do with WordPress, so I've had it before where I've had like a password protected space. So you would just give them those details in the welcome email. I've had it before where you set 100% off coupon. So you give them that link, and then obviously when they press there, they don't have to pay anything. But yeah, in the paid member welcome email, which you'll find in your settings of your publication, that's what to do with that one. And if anyone wants to unmute, feel free. Is there anywhere you can offer a lifetime offer? I feel like yes, but I feel like my brain isn't going to access that without me having a look. Let me have a quick look if we've got time. If not, then I'll put it in the replay. I mean, I have gifted people lifetime access. I've given them that gift manually in this from the subscriber tab. Some communities off Substack cost $9.97 for a live workshop each month, and then you're committed not signing up, not paying each month. Maybe I'll try that model, because if people pay that way anyway, it'd be good to do it via Substack or not. So like a subscription off platform. Not quite sure if I understand that one, Jane. Sarah's saying, do we have to activate all the tiers, or could we just have the founding member level? You have to have monthly and paid, but you don't have to have founding. So you don't have to turn founding on, but you do have to have the others if you turn paid on. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Caitlin's saying, I've joined one lifetime offer and then turned it off, so it stops the payment. Yeah, that would be a workaround. Oh, tax implications, Catherine. I wish I knew what to say. I honestly don't know what to say. It took me so long to write that piece because accountants just want to tell you it's a grey area. So if it's a grey area, that's fine. But we as individuals, for our nervous system and to be doing things properly, can't deal with grey areas. And neither can accountants really, because they work in black and white. So I think we'll see some shifts and changes over the next little while. But essentially, what seems to be the main kind of space people occupy is you turn it on if you are going to like sell something within a funnel and not have any live human interaction, i.e. like if you turn paid subscriptions on in your Substack, but you're not going to be there and you're not going to be plugging in and people are just going to be paying and you're going to be getting paid and that's the end of it. People will integrate Stripe tax and then they'll make a monthly VAT return and in one country in Europe, and then it'll go to all countries. If you are going to have a live community element, then this sits within the grey area, so it's probably fine, says the accountants that I've interviewed. So I know it's not helpful and I know it's really hard, and I'm there with you. Like, that's all I can say. One of the things that I do know is that obviously when people earn more through Substack, it tips them over into tax implications in lots of other places. And the only way around that is to have an accountant to deal with that stuff, unless you're just a maths whiz, which I am definitely not. So I think that taking it into account is a good thing, you know, in terms of how you want to grow. But right here and now, it's probably fine as long as you're, you know, dropping someone a DM, offering that kind of community chat and interaction, probably fine. And that's literally all I've got. And I'm so sorry that I don't have more, because I would love to have more, because it is nerve-wracking. But I feel much better about it now, because there's literally nothing else we can do and nothing else I can research. So I hope that's all right.
Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome. Oh, so Rachel's saying, aside from technical aspects, my biggest issue is self-worth around what I'm doing, because it's a new career away from what I've done all my life. Yeah, and I think on the mindset side of it, Rachel, it is for all of us. You know, it's relatively new. You know, when I was in school, this type of career wasn't spoken about. Like, this isn't what we did for work. And so really, it's since 2020, since the pandemic enabled us all to use Zoom or Zoom-esque equipment, right? And so we all got comfortable with being on video. You know, remember the first few times you went on and you were like, oh my God, like what? I don't want to see myself talk. It's so weird. And now we're like, we've wrapped our heads around it, and that's only 4 years. So there is this little bit of grace and kindness where it's like, yeah, we've all got new careers now, or we could have. We can all do things differently. And I think, again, coming back to that empowering place of going, well, what is it I want to do in the world? You know, I've got this many years of career under my belt where I was trained to do X, Y, and Z. One of the examples I like to use is there's these guys called Propane Fitness, Johnny and Yusuf. They're from the Northeast as well, and they're massive on social media now. But Johnny was an accountant and Yusuf was a doctor, and they did their like professional training. That's what they did. But on the side, they ran this fitness business, and they trained other PTs, other personal trainers, how to monetize personal training on the internet. And when me and my husband first learned from Johnny and Yusuf, like, bearing in mind we know them in real life and stuff like that, it was just wild. Like, it was wild, the things that they were like setting up, suggesting, the systems, the tech, but they were doing it, right? They were modeling it. And we were like, well, okay, so you just get this system and it's called this, and you plug everyone in, and then you've got this. And so, you know, when my husband was doing all of that and like working with the video content he had, you know, we didn't have what we have now, and technology just changes so quickly. So I do think that it is exciting. And we need to remember that if it's new to us, it's new to our nervous systems, and it's okay if someone else is really comfortable. That doesn't mean we're going to be from the off. So like, working into that comfort zone, what you feel feels good for you, is really important. But knowing that our brains are elastic and malleable, and we can learn stuff and we can be here. Like, if you showed 2020 version of me this, like, I'd just be like, what? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I teaching? Like, I didn't even know Substack existed. So anything's possible, and we're here for you. We're all going to cheerlead everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Sarah's saying, fascinated. I've been working writing online since 2014. Yeah. And I got a really kind email after the email that I had to send on Sunday about me being an ostrich, from someone who's been working online for a long, long time. And it was so kind, you know, and I just thought, she's been through this, like, she knows, you know, like, she's had that kind of shock horror, like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to manage all of this? And this is what Sparkle is, you know, you're a community of people that can all help each other, and I'm here with you. So don't be frightened, we can do it. Good. Okay, that's the founding member stuff. Yeah, I think that's all good. Okay, well, I think if there's no more questions, then we should go. Yeah.
Hi, Claire. Could I just
Oh,
ask a very
hi,
quick
of course.
question?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll be quick because I know you have to go in a minute.
Oh, that's all good.
I've been doing this series called How to Tell a Story. I've been writing a short story which is going to be published later this year, and I've kind of been detailing my whole process, literally from I've got a blank page right through to it will end up with receiving the editorial feedback from from the publisher. So I should finish that series kind of November time, maybe. And I've done tiny little fragments of podcasts, which is just where I've read extracts from my story, from my work in progress. But it is mainly just, you just read it. the first 3 are free, and then it's for paid members. What I'm wondering is, when I finished that series, to make it something that might bring in more members, I was wondering whether to either turn the whole thing into a podcast, or to do like a little video which would embed into every one. And I wondered what your thoughts are on that.
That sounds really exciting. I think there's a few different ways that you could approach that, isn't there? Video just helps us to, you know, that whole know, like, and trust factor. You know, it just ramps that up for us. So if you did video and you were trying to build your profile on Substack, that's just going to introduce people to you and like help them to see who you are in the world, give you that credibility. You can share, you know, how they access it and all that sort of stuff. So that would be good. In terms of the podcast distribution, I mean, it's excellent on Substack. So when I do a podcast, I can do it just for you guys, or I can do it where it's open source and then it'll go through to Spotify and all that sort of stuff. So it depends, I guess, how, as an art form, how you want that received. You know, if you want to give people the options to like listen in the car and give them like the searchability and stuff like that, if it was to be found through Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So I guess thinking about what your best case outcome would be in terms of, is it the number of listens? Is it more people paying? Is it a bit of both? You know, and working that through. What do you think?
I think what I'm looking for is ease for people to connect with it. So that's why I was initially thinking podcast. But then I guess my goal is to bring in more members and then increase more of a community, and also have a platform that I can then, you know, have digital online workshops for. So I wasn't quite sure which was the best approach for that.
You might be good looking at a bit of a hybrid, because if you do video, say for example for the first one, then Substack will ask you if you want to turn that into podcast audio. So you have that video and then also the podcast audio, and you can just keep that maybe open access. And then the next time you could just do audio, for example. So the people that have found you within Substack and kind of watch that video of you, and then kind of, yeah, filter in and like want to listen to the rest when you do that. You can also look at potentially, like after they've listened to maybe that first one and that second one, you could paywall maybe the third one. So you give them a preview and then you paywall the rest, and just do that as an experiment. Like if there were a few, then you could start, you know, okay, I'm going to paywall after about, I don't know, like 3-4 minutes. So they get some of it like a teaser, and then you can see how well that converts. And, you know, there's definitely have a look at Lindsay Johnson. So Lindsay Johnson has a Substack called What Now with Lindsay Johnston, and she paywalls her memoir, or an audio version of her memoir. So that comes out like in episodes. I think it's like every Sunday. And she's been on the podcast and talked about that. And she had a really sharp increase in paid subscribers because people want to know what happens next. It's a memoir. So sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's to do with people want the education. But I think, yeah, just working that through a bit, knowing that you can paywall a part of a video and you can still pull that through to the podcasting platform, and people will then be directed to click back through to Substack and pay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay. I think everyone's just chatting, so it's fine. Okay, guys. Well, it's been so beautiful to see you all. I'll obviously put the replay up in the same post that I sent out earlier. And we've got a collection of 3, but keep thinking about it. It's not easy. And, you know, give yourself time to experiment, chat to each other, figure out what's working, talk to your subscribers, understand what they want. But have fun, keep it joyful, and it will be sustainable, because joy just is, you know. So, all right. Have a lovely day, everyone. See you really soon. Take care.